everyone. With this video, it'll be best if you have the syllabus open so you can kind of go along with the objectives that I'm going to cover. This video also assumes that you've read the book and kind of have had at least one discussion in class about how to code. So this is just kind of reinforce some of the stuff that we've covered in class that gets kind of confusing. So I'm just going to follow right along on the objectives here for Project 1. Starting right with Section 1, and if you remember, Section 1 is everything, and I'm going to put a single line comment right here. It's everything that's with the pragmas and above there, the multi-line JS.comment. So I'm going to do Section 1, and we'll just do a line here. So everything above that, and I'll put a caret to kind of say everything up above here is Section 1. So here we have a multi-line comment, and this particular type of comment is a JS.comment because it's got the two asterisks right here. And so what a JS.comment allows us to do is create a really nice web page that kind of talks about our code. Wherever we've put JS.comments in, it'll generate HTML, and then you have a web page that will kind of explain all of this stuff to the person who's looking at it. Down here in the bottom part of Section 1, we have our pragmas that we turn on, which are language features that we want to either enable or disable. In this particular case, use strict in JavaScript is going to put some training wheels on our code for us. And down here, I'm importing a library called readLineSync. And the way that I do that is with this require keyword and then the name of the library that I want to import. And if you remember, during the logistics portion of the class, we install this locally to our project. We don't do it globally anymore. We install it locally to our project. And I'm going to set it as a constant, this import, because I don't want it to change during my coding. And you'll notice right here, this is a single line comment. Anything with two forward slashes is a single line comment in the language that we're using, just like this right here that I added. So everything from line 14, I'm going to actually change that line to this. I'm going to put a single line comment in here, and we're going to call this Section 2, and I'm going to go ahead and, just like I did up above, and I'll put a caret to say everything above this line is Section 2. This is where we do all of our global variable declarations. Remember, we're only declaring variables when we do them globally. We're not initializing them. And this is where we also do all of our global constant declarations and initializations. So I have, in this particular case, based on what you see down here in this bottom section, which, by the way, is the third and last type of comments that we'll be working with. This is a multi-line comment that's not a JS.comment. And what I did down here is I put the actual requirements of the little project that we're doing here down here so that you can read it. Go ahead and pause the video if you want so you can read that and then pick back up when you're ready to continue on. Alright, so I assume that you've read the requirements of what we're coding here. I'm going to go ahead and keep going here. I'm going to put another single line comment here. Section 3. This is our dispatch section, so everything above this section right here is our Section 3, and I'll put a caret that points up. So, you'll see that we've declared a method or function called main. That's the convention we're going to use for the entire class. And then we call main down here. This line right here, line 17, is called a method signature line or a function signature line. This is where we define the function. We kind of say what the function is going to do. In this particular case, this function is just simply calling all of our methods down in Section 4 down here. And line 24 is where we actually call this method to run. So this is my call to my dispatcher, and this is where I define my dispatcher. You'll notice each one of these are calls to methods down here in Section 4. And remember the rule, if you look back up here in Section 2, for every global variable that you have up in Section 2, you must also have an associated mutator method for it down in Section 4, which is down here. And I'm going to go ahead and label that as such. lines in to say everything above that line right here and below, obviously below these lines. This is section 4. This is where I go and mutate these variables right here, where I've opened the memory space, but now I have to say what's going to go in them. So the code actually runs sequentially, kind of. It reads it in, and then it sees this method right here, but the first actual thing that it sees to do is run the main method. So it gets to this, it jumps back up here to this curly brace, and then it starts to run what it sees in here, top down. Well, the very first thing that it sees right here is the call to another method. So it stops here immediately, jumps down to this curly brace, and starts running what it finds in here sequentially, top down. So the first thing that I'm doing down here on line 29 is I am mutating my sale price global variable. And I went ahead and named the method setSalePrice, and I called right here setSalePrice, and I did that so that it's self-documenting code, so that I kind of know what's going on. So here's the actual global variable sale price that I've declared up here. I'm initializing it to be whatever they answer to this question right here. So whatever they type in after this colon, what they're going to see on the screen is please enter a vehicle sale price, and the cursor will be blinking right there for them. Whatever they type in and hit enter, question then assigns it to sale price, and I've got it wrapped in this class called a wrapper class. In this particular case, in JavaScript, I am ensuring that what they type in is not going to get passed as string, but is going to be set as a number, so that my mathematics down here actually work. Now this math is not correct here, but I wanted to demonstrate how that is an overloaded operator in JavaScript. That's a plus sign. That's the string concatenator, but it's also the arithmetic operator. But since the stuff that you put in here by default, JavaScript thinks it's a string, I have to force it right here to think it's a number by wrapping this whole thing. Notice the outside parentheses, and here's the inside ones. I have to wrap the whole thing in this number class and then assign it to sale price after they hit enter. So now sale price is whatever the user puts in. Then it jumps back up here because it hits this curly brace. It jumps back where it left off. The very next thing that it sees is another method call, so it jumps down to set purchase price. And same thing as I did before, I ask them what's the purchase price, I make sure it's a number, and then I put it into the global variable purchase price. And you can see when I highlight it, it also highlights it up here. Then the next thing that I do after that is done, and I hit this curly brace, is I jump down to set total profit. I come down here and I set total profit to be equal to sale price plus purchase price. Now that's not the correct formula, but I need to be able to demonstrate how this plus sign works. So that's why I did it like that. And we'll code it again here in just a second so that it's actually the correct code. After it sets total profit, then the last thing that I do is I simply print profit, and I come down here, and the way that we print in this particular language is with this console log command, and then the output that we want it to say. Now you'll notice these are backticks here. These are not single quotes. These are backticks, which is right above the tab key on the left-hand side of the keyboard. And the way that we interpolate the variable value, so whatever's stored in this box, is we have to enclose it inside of this weird-looking container. So we used a $sigil, and then an open and close curly brace, and then the name of the variable, and it will interpolate that to the actual value. So let's say if it was 80 for $80, then what would actually print out is total vehicle profit : space 80. Now if we want it to actually have the $, we use another, what's called escape character, like we did up here with this \n for new line. I'm going to escape a $. So what this is going to do is actually print a $, and then the number 80. So that's what this escape character does right here, is it actually allows the $, to go right there on the screen. Okay, so what's going to happen here to get this to run is I click on terminal, and you'll notice that I'm right here. Now normally we should be able to just click this arrow right here, but there's actually a bug in our IDE. This IntelliJ IDE actually has a bug. I opened up a support ticket with them, and I'm on the list, so as soon as it gets fixed, I'll be told about it. But in the meantime, for us to run this code, or any code, we have to we click on the terminal down here, and then we type the word node, space, and then the name of our code. In this case, it's intro, and if I just hit the tab key, it'll fill it out for me. Now, sometimes your file names have similar names to other files in your folder, so if you hit tab and it doesn't end with .js, keep hitting tab until it gets to the file that ends with .js. And now when I hit enter, it's going to ask me for a vehicle sale price. I'll put $3,000. Then it's going to ask me for the purchase price. I'll say the person paid $4,000 for it. And then total vehicle profit was $7,000. Now we know that's not true. That's not the correct formula, but I just wanted to show you that if I did not wrap these in number, there's a good chance that JavaScript would have run these two together, so it would have been 3,000 and then right next to it would have been 4,000 right here on this line. So 3,000, 4,000 is how it would have looked instead of the actual adding them together as numbers and 7,000. And notice that the $sign is there also. That pretty much covers everything that we had on the objectives. That covers pragmas and imports. I'm just going through the objectives right here. So here's our pragmas and imports. That covers comments. We've done our 3 comments. It covers dispatching. It covers... Oh, we didn't cover parameters. It does cover keywords. Anything that kind of highlights in blue is a keyword in the actual language itself. So that way you know those are reserved for language functionalities. Data types, you'll notice right here that these data types are numeric, and that's why they're all declared kind of on the same line. If I wanted to do a string one like customer name, I would do it on a separate line, and I would say let space customer name, like that. And then as you know, anytime we have a global variable up here, we want to come down and mutate it. So I would come down here and say function set customer name and open and close parentheses, and then I'm just going to copy this right here just for quickness and paste that there. Please enter customer name, and then I have to put it into a variable, and so we called it customer name equals. So now when I run this, and I'll have to call it up here, I'll just do it at the top. So it's the first method that runs. Let's get their name in there first. So that's another thing I want to point out. It doesn't matter what order they're in down here in section 4. The order that matters is the order that you call them in your main method. So the first thing it's going to run is set customer name, which is way down here. Then it's going to run set sale price. Then it's going to run set purchase price, all the way down. So lastly, I want to show you how to do a constant up here. So if I wanted to do const language, whoops, remember we do constants in all caps, language equals, and then since it's a string, I have to enclose it in string, English. And now I can use that anywhere down there, and I could say total vehicle profit is that, comma, and your language is, and then right there I would do my $sign, open and close curly brace, and then put language right there, and that's actually going to print out English. Okay, so that pretty much covers everything except for parameters for the objectives, and I'll cover parameters in another video, but that should get you started to just kind of follow along and understand how we write the code out. I'm going to close this so you can see it all right here, and I'll just let the video kind of sit here for a second so you can pause it and see the code and think of any questions that you may have. Okay, thank you very much.